Hello. Hello. Not connected. Oh, we don't have a Bluetooth. It's on. Says it's on. Yeah, I mean, streaming live on Facebook. Oh, Facebook. Mute. Text Dave, we can't hear. Hello.
Yeah. Stanley, can you hear me?
Yeah, now I hear you.
There we go. Oh, I think you missed Dave Cassidy's glowing words about you, but I'm going to read the resolutions for you now. Okay. So resolution from the Borough of Red Bank honoring Stanley Sickles' 50 years of service to the Red Bank Fire Department and Navesink Hook and Ladder Company. Whereas Stanley Sickles, born and raised in Red Bank, joined the Red Bank Volunteer Fire Department in May 1973. And whereas the Borough of Red Bank Fire Department was first organized in 1872, and the Navesink Hook and Ladder Company was incorporated in 1873 by an act of the New Jersey State Legislature. And whereas Stanley Sickles has served the Red Bank community as a volunteer firefighter for over 50 years, including as chief of the department in 1988, as captain of the Hook and Ladder, as president of the Hook and Ladder, as fire department training officer, as an instructor at the Monmouth County Fire Academy for 43 years, as a life member of the New Jersey Firemen's Relief Association, and is the recipient of numerous awards for his service, including as Firefighter of the Year and a life-saving medal. And whereas Stanley Sickles led significant reform in Red Bank's fire code as Borough Fire Marshal from 1979 to 2017, resulting in a tangible increase to the safety of Red Bank citizens and in the protection of Red Bank's property, and continues to actively serve the department. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Red Bank, recognize with gratitude Stanley Sickles' significant service and contributions to our community's safety. and the Red Bank Volunteer Fire Department. In witness whereof, I appear unto set my hand this 10th day of August, 2023. Thank you, Stanley.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm gonna hold, maybe someone will take this lovely resolution and get it to you, Stanley, but we'll figure that out later.
Here in August to receive it.
All right, perfect. There we go. And I want to read the resolution honoring Robert Tallarico. Honoring Robert Tallarico's 50 years of service to the Red Bank Fire Department and Navissing Hook and Ladder Company. Whereas Robert Tallarico, born and raised in Red Bank, joined the Navissing Hook and Ladder of the Red Bank Volunteer Fire Department in November 1973. And whereas the Borough of Red Bank Fire Department was first organized in 1872, and the Navissing Hook and Ladder Company was incorporated in 1873 by an act of the New Jersey State Legislature. And whereas Robert Tallarico has served the Red Bank community as a volunteer firefighter for over 50 years, including as chief of the department in 1994 and as acting chief in 2006, as captain of the Hook and Ladder, as president of the Hook and Ladder, as a member of the borough's fire marshal's office from 1999 to 2017, as a life member of the New Jersey Firemen's Relief Association, and is the recipient of numerous awards for his service, including twice being honored as Red Bank's Firefighter of the Year. And whereas Robert Tallarico served his nation for 4 years as a member of the United States Navy, returned home and joined the fire department, and continues to serve Red Bank in a manner all residents and department members should be proud to emulate. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the mayor and council of the Borough of Red Bank, recognize with gratitude Robert Tallarico's significant service and contributions to our community's safety and the Red Bank Volunteer Fire Department. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand this 10th day of August, 2023.
Get a picture together.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And all of you, no, come on,
Oh.
3 of you,
Hold it.
all together,
Okay.
ready? Touch, there we go, thank you. Good, Bob, that's every word of it. You're one of the best.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for letting us juggle the order. Let me get a sip of water because we have a couple of proclamations to read. Okay, the first proclamation is for Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. Whereas this year, approximately 288,300 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer in the United States alone, 1 man every 2 minutes. And roughly 34,700 will die this year from the disease, about 3,500 more than 2020, which is 1 man every 15 minutes. And whereas in New Jersey, an estimated 9,460 new cases of prostate cancer will be diagnosed, and an estimated 730 deaths will occur in 2023. And whereas men with relatives, father, brother, son, with a history of prostate cancer are twice as likely to develop the disease. And whereas prostate cancer is the most commonly diagnosed cancer in American men and the 3rd leading cause of cancer death behind lung and colon cancer. And whereas 1 in 8 men are diagnosed with prostate cancer in their lifetime, and 1 in 6 African-American men will develop prostate cancer in their lifetime. Overall, African-American men are 1.7 times more likely to be diagnosed with and 2.1 times more likely to die from prostate cancer than white men. And whereas veterans who are exposed to herbicides like Agent Orange are at increased risk for developing prostate cancer and are more likely to have an aggressive form of the disease. And whereas education regarding prostate cancer and early detection strategies is critical to saving lives, preserving and protecting our families, as well as the economic and social burden Prostate cancer is huge on families, and whereas if caught early, prostate cancer has a 5-year survival rate of nearly 100%. However, for late-stage prostate cancer, the 5-year survival rate is 31%. And whereas many more men will be diagnosed in 2023 at a later stage because of delayed screenings and treatment due to COVID-19. And whereas all men are at risk for prostate cancer, and we encourage the citizens of Red Bank to increase the importance of prostate awareness and screenings. Now, therefore, be resolved, I, William Portman, to hereby proclaim the month of September 2023 to be Prostate Cancer Awareness Month in Red Bank. In witness whereof, I've hereunto set my hand this 10th day of August, 2023. And next up, a proclamation for National Black Business and Black Philanthropy Month. Whereas John William Templeton, a historian, and Frederick E. Jordan Sr., a civilian engineer, founded Black Business Month in 2004 in an effort to drive policy agenda affecting the 2.6 million Black-owned businesses across the nation to recognize them and highlight the economic impact in their respective communities, state, and nation. And whereas Templeton and Jordan thought that highlighting Black entrepreneurs and encouraging people to support their business is key to reducing barriers for Black-owned businesses and could result in more than 40,000 additional jobs during the month and as many as 450,000 if the patterns are continued over the course of a year. And whereas the U.S. Minority Business Development Agency estimates 2.6 million Black-owned businesses in the United States generates approximately 150 billion each year. Whereas Black business owners account for approximately 10% of U.S. businesses and about 30% of all minority-owned businesses, which amounts to 2.6 million African-American-owned businesses in the U.S. that generate approximately 150 billion in annual receipts. And whereas the number of Black-owned businesses and those owned by women continue to grow as the number of firms owned by Black women grew 164% from 2007 to 2018, nearly 3 times the average rate. And whereas supporting and promoting Black-owned businesses helps to close the racial wealth gap and encourages the flourishing of the local community and culture. And whereas Red Bank is home to a variety of Black-owned businesses that provide family-supporting jobs and careers to residents, and these businesses are a vital and proud component of our diverse community. Now, therefore, I, William Portman, Mayor of the Borough of Red Bank, do hereby proclaim August 2023 as National Black Business and Black Philanthropy Month in the Borough of Red Bank, New Jersey, and urge all citizens to recognize the valuable contribution and importance of Black businesses to our community and economy. Thank you. Okay, next up we have a presentation. Is that Evan?
Right. I wish his last name.
Rimmel? Evan, is it Rimmel?
It's Rimley.
Rimley, okay.
Yes.
So Evan is an Eagle Scout and he with Troop 32, well, he's a scout with Troop 32, and he's here to present his Eagle Scout project proposal. Take it away, Evan.
Thank you, Mayor. So I sent a letter explaining my project, but I'll go over it in some detail. My project is planning to be kayak racks for Maple Cove and Red Bank. I plan on hopefully building a kayak rack that will hold 8 kayaks or 8 canoes that can be offered to the public so the community can store their kayaks there for the season, as long as the town of Red Bank agrees to make a program for the community and public to sign up to store their kayaks there for the season. The summer, the spring, possibly the fall. So I'm still in the beginning of the planning process for this. I'm glad to be coming to you guys to ask for basically an endorsement to, proceed with my process where I can go to my troop and make a final plan and then come back and follow through with the plan.
Great, thank you, Evan. Do we have to, Darren, what do you?
No, we spoke with Parks and Rec, and the director will work out some sort of a way of assigning the spots once the rack is built, similar to what we do in Marine Park with the boat slips.
Okay. So I guess, yeah, proceed. You have, does anyone have anything they want to add to this? No?
Thank you.
Yeah, so yeah, proceed to the next step. You have our conditional endorsement. Let's see what you come up with.
Okay, thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Evan.
Thank you.
Okay, Laura Newman from CME Associates is going to give us a Parks project update.
Good evening. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I just was here. I'm grateful for the opportunity to present just the status of the current park projects before the borough. As you may be aware, earlier this year, East Side Park Phase 3 was awarded to Precise Construction. That project scope is resurfacing of the basketball courts at East Side Park, as well as reconstruction of the tennis/pickleball courts. Fencing will be provided in that area, and there's some minor drainage work that will be done. That project, we have gone through the submittal stage with the contractor, and we are currently coordinating his schedule for mobilization and completion of the project. The other project that was awarded, I believe, at your last council meeting was for Riverside Gardens. That's a project which includes redoing the boardwalk out there. It'll be a wood synthetic boardwalk, new railings, as well as removal and replacement of 7 benches that are currently along the water there. That the borough does have a $69,000 grant towards that work. That project was awarded to Volcan Construction. They are in the process of making submittals. They have let us know that they expect at least a 4 to 6 week lead time on most of the material, and they anticipate a fall mobilization. The other project, and I believe the chief spoke briefly about this at the last meeting, is Marine Park. So as the council may be aware, we have an application before the NJDEP, which would convert the clay courts to a pervious paving parking system. That parking lot will ultimately yield 68 parking spaces. And the goal was to make those spaces so we could green up some of the area along the water. That permit is subject to a 30-day public comment period. That public comment period has been set by the DEP and will start August 16th. Upon completion of that, we do expect that the permit would be forthcoming. We have not to date received any comments on the pervious pavement system. So we would expect in October that we would have a permit. The other thing I did prior to the meeting started was I had passed around a couple of playground structures, for lack of a better word, or equipment maybe per se, to look at. Part of the 2019 plan that was vetted through the public included various improvements, one of which was removal and relocation of the playground area. What we thought, or at least part of the vision, was to make it a little bit more natural. So as you're aware, there's some slope along the back of the park. So if you look, I've included maybe some natural slides. We might be able to get some natural climbing equipment in, as well as ground features. So there's several pages of components that I'd certainly welcome any feedback on. And then we can certainly move forward with a conceptual phase to advance that next phase of the park project. In short, that's pretty much everything I had prepared for this evening, but I'm certainly happy to answer any questions or receive any comments that you may have.
Has anyone checked with, do we know when, I know that there was a holdup with the fencing for East Side Park, just because it's not standard fencing, it's 10 feet high or something. Do we have an update on when that?
So that's part of the project that was awarded, not at the baseball fields, at the pickleball courts.
Yeah, no.
There was lead time issues with that, and that's where at this point, the submittals have all been approved and we're waiting for our contractor.
So I was asking if you have any update on when we might have those.
I'm hoping, we followed up with the contractor again this week. We've been trying to nail down a specific date. What I'm inclined to do, honestly, is issue what's called the notice to proceed, which starts the clock associated with his contract time, so that he's then bound by that. And I probably will do that as early as next week so that the park gets moving.
Okay.
We would try to be cognizant. Sometimes some of these things had long lead time. So you try to be cognizant of that with a contractor. But at this point, I'd like to get him out there and moving forward.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else?
What's the timeline for Riverside Gardens Park?
So I expect fall construction. I would expect that we're probably going to see contract time, substantial completion within 90 days. And again, as I indicated, with 4 to 6 weeks, hopefully they mobilize by October and it's done before the winter season, substantially complete.
Yes, Ben.
What's the condition of the lights and the railings, that go down to the river there on Riverside Garden Park? I mean, I don't know what it is currently. Is this project addressing any of that stuff?
It is not. The scope is limited to the boardwalk, the benching, and the railing. The railing will be replaced, but lighting was not incorporated.
That
was my question.
Anyone else?
No? Okay.
All right, thank you.
I guess while we have you here, I can, because we're going to be sliding into public comments anyway. Does anyone have any question for Laura from the public about the parks projects? Yes.
Cindy Burnham, 71 Wallace Street. I already said this to Laura. I'm gonna say it to everybody. Back in the 80s, I was in on the original East Side Park renovation with the mayor at McKenna. And I just want to say, and I said this to Laura, that I think where the kiddie playground is a good spot because there's trees there. When you've got a park in that position, you need shade, or else all of the equipment will get hot. And also, if you go with wood down there, it'll splinter and rot. So I wouldn't do that.
I don't think we had any wood components planned.
They make a nice navy green. That's really nice and natural looking, but that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Anyone else have a question for the engineer? No? All right. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you. I appreciate the time.
Okay, we're going to move to public comments on agenda items only. This is only for items on the agenda. If you have something now on the agenda, that will be at the end of the meeting. But we are opening the floor for public comment, agenda items only.
Good evening, Alan Hill, 64 McLaren Street. I've just got a couple of queries, and they really apply to process rather than content. And I would just like to know, actually, how is the agenda for a meeting like this today actually compiled? And how do individual items end up on the agenda? That's my only question. No, it's my first question. I beg your pardon.
You want to take it? I mean, I guess they're on a bunch of different ways. I mean, there's
So some of them that are more pro forma are put on by myself or the clerk, like, for example, resolutions awarding grants, awarding projects, awarding design fees, and others that are more legislative, like ordinances, are typically put on at the request of somebody on the governing body, and then drafted by Laura or our attorney, and then ultimately approved and released onto a public agenda.
Thank you. And more specifically, I'm referring to item NP 2350. My clinician. Once again, this is not about the content. How does that end up on the agenda? All I recall is a brief mention last meeting. No mention once again in the minutes or anything like that. And yet a fully fledged resolution has appeared here. And once again, I'm not going to comment on the contents. Generally, I'm for it. But there are also other uses to which this $70,000, which I think is presented to the people of Red Bank, not the council of Red Bank. People may have different ideas about how that money should be used. And that's my comment.
So as to the process, I'm the one that actually physically drafted that. So Deputy Mayor Tridiano had brought up last meeting the idea that you referenced. The manager, the interim manager, chased down the underlying information. And then because it's a public contract, I drafted the underlying RFQ, and then I drafted the resolution that goes with it. I will note the money is not being spent today to put out a request for quality, to make sure that I don't know if the 73,000 will cover it, but the governing body will then make its decision when it awards the contract as to whether actually to spend that money or not. And that's required to be done by a resolution of the governing body in front of the public because it's a professional service.
I guess my curiosity is just how something goes from quote, the only reference I've got for this is Red Bank Green, goes from spitballing to actually being this resolution. There are other ways of spending this money. And this is the only opportunity for people from the public to come and say, maybe you're barking up the wrong tree. You may not be. There are aspects of this I do agree with, but there are also, I don't know, controversial too much, but there are other aspects to this that need to be discussed and can be within the framework of this resolution. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Cindy Burnham, 71 Wallace Street. I just wondered, what are the other municipalities that have a police officer or that have a social worker in their police office?
You're asking what departments around the state have it? Is that?
Other municipalities. I mean, I know,
There's a few different programs that's arrived together, which is in a couple of counties, mostly up north, I think, where they.
I mean, there's nothing at Asbury Park or Long Branch.
Does have something. I'm not sure about Long Branch. Ours is close, our concept is closely modeled after Sayreville.
Sayreville. Well, my daughter is a licensed clinical social worker, and I asked her about this, and she said Asbury Park has nothing like this.
They do.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Michael Zadlock, President, Red Bank PBA Local 39, along with the executive board behind me. I'm speaking about tonight's agenda, NP 2345, which is the appointing of Chief McConnell as interim municipal manager. It is clearly a matter of public concern that I compel to reference the PBA membership recent vote of no confidence against Chief McConnell.
I just want to interrupt you just to be clear. Chief McConnell is currently the acting VA, and Greg, you can probably explain this better than me. But under the law of switching our form of government, whoever the VA is has to be, with a resolution, appointed the interim municipal manager. And if you look, at 23-49. We're also authorizing the posting of the borough manager position.
Correct,
So,
which is 49.
no way a permanent appointment, but
Understand.
by the law, this is.
Correct.
Is that pretty?
Yeah, so you saw Mike Collins, who's a special counsel in town, came last week talking about transitioning the form of government.
Yes.
Him and I have been working since then. So one of the big things is in order to hire anyone in the borough, the old borough form of government, you had to pass a resolution. Under the council manager form of government, the manager has hiring authority over subordinate employees. So the Faulkner Act, according to what Mike and I worked up, is that Section 207 of the Faulkner Act, we're required to provisions for officers and for the organization and administration of the municipal government under the optional plan may be made by an interim resolution pending the adoption of the administrative code. So Mike's working on that before October 1st. And in the meantime, we have to set up the interim form of government. So the resolution is really changing the title of business administrator to, or interim business administrator, interim manager.
Okay. Yes, thank you.
So do you understand the content of it?
Yep, that's fine. I'm just speaking in the public comment section, which is clearly stated in the agenda. So Mayor Portman and council members, as I advise you, Mayor Portman, to my letter to you dated on 7/13/2023, Red Bank PBA Local 39 held a special meeting on July 10th, 2023 for a vote of no confidence pertaining to Police Chief Interim Borough Administrator Darren McConnell. Herewith and after, I'm going to refer to him as McConnell.
I'm going to interrupt you one more time, again, if you don't mind. I'm afraid we're going to be straying into personnel items. I'd rather be doing this in a closed executive session.
This is not a personnel matter. This is something that the PBA decided to do, which does not pertain to the personnel exemption for the borough. So this is a vote we conducted on our union.
You can proceed.
Okay.
I don't mind.
Member of the public.
I would like to hear what the.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. This meeting was well attended by our members, and an overwhelming number of members approved the no confidence vote. That is, the vast majority of our membership do not have confidence in McConnell, not as only head of our police department, but also the borough's interim municipal manager. To the best of our collective knowledge, the aforesaid no confidence vote is unprecedented in the borough's history. During his tenure as the head of our police department, as well as the capacity as acting borough administrator, McConnell has destroyed the morale of this once proud and distinguished agency and has not lived up to the standards that are expected from him in his office as police chief and borough administrator. Sworn members of law enforcement are held to a higher standard of conduct and are sworn to exhibit the highest level of professionalism with honor and integrity. Any officer who violates their oath of office does a grave disservice to the people of the community, their coworkers, and should be held accountable. Unethical activities involving McConnell impacts the integrity of the Red Bank Police Department, such as numerous inappropriate and questionable sexual relationships with PBA members' significant others. McConnell has shown he only cares about himself, disregarding any concern for the havoc that he has caused. McConnell's actions have led to the Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office to look at how he handled internal affair complaints regarding his current wife and subordinate that resulted in the prosecutor's office coming with a directive February 24th, 2023. That directive has not been distributed to our department, but has been public to other agencies. A complaint has also been filed against McConnell with the New Jersey Attorney General's office, which has delayed his retirement, not an unspecified pension issue. McConnell should be placed on administrative leave immediately and until further notice. The previous mayor and council were made aware of McConnell's conduct and ineptly failed to take any corrective action. McConnell has been selectively enforcing borough and police department policies, causing a problem in the workplace. Favoritism, nepotism, and unfair treatment have created friction among coworkers, which has brought us to this vote. Although McConnell announced his intent to retire effective July 31st, 2023, that has been put on hold, there exists a possibility that he may subsequently return as the borough city manager at some point in the future. As illustrated by the no confidence vote, our membership is adamantly opposed to any such appointment. Giving McConnell the entire executive power vested in that position to appoint, hire, or promote whomever he chooses causes a major conflict of interest. During the PBA Step 3 grievance hearing on June 14th, 2023, Mayor Portman and council members were informed the police department's morale was completely destroyed. During said hearing, Mayor Portman expressed interest in speaking with PBA leadership in regards to our concerns. The Red Bank PBA 39 previously made a request to meet with Mayor Portman and the newly appointed council during the executive session of tonight's borough meeting. We plan to discuss the current department's morale issues, deficiencies, and workplace conditions that have been caused by McConnell. Mayor Portman agreed to have this meeting. However, since McConnell is still currently employed as the borough, Mayor Portman did not feel that it was a meeting that should take place until the new police chief is appointed. We experienced multiple postponements and last-minute cancellations to our union's workplace grievance proceedings with the previous council. We are simply here in an effort to make the newly appointed council aware of the ongoing issues with the police department and to open dialogue where we can work together to resolve these issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Public comment, anyone else have public comment?
There's one online, Mayor.
All right, online, agenda items only.
Well, I can't tell, but.
It's Stanley's hand
It's
raised.
Stanley. Stanley, did you raise your hand on purpose? Okay, maybe not.
It's on mute.
How about that?
Hey,
Am I on now? Hey,
yeah.
first of all, I want to compliment you on having Laura Newman. She was an excellent engineer when I was there, and I appreciate that she's still there. A question regarding the parks. My family donated benches in both parks, Riverside Gardens that was dedicated to my parents, and a bench in Marine Park, which was dedicated to my two nephews that passed away untimely. And I was just wondering if the people if there's going to be changes to those benches or need for new benches, if the families that donated those benches would be contacted and given the opportunity to ensure that there's still a bench dedicated to the family members.
Hey, Stanley, it's Darren. Absolutely. The only problem is I might have to call you if you remember who those families are, because I'm not sure that those benches still have the plaques on them. But to the extent that they do, we'll actually not even have to contact them, just move new plaques onto the new benches. But yeah, if you happen to know of any people that donated the benches and feel like letting me know, I'll make note of it so we can put plaques on them.
Well, I'll see what I can find in my myriad of disc with information. So, but I know at least two. And,
You can start.
all right,
Usually he knows it all.
okay.
Stanley, did you have anything else you wanted to say? I know you had sound issues before, but did you want to, I mean, anything about your proclamation? I know you're jumping into helping on other things, but.
I'm just looking forward to replay this video of the meeting and see what Dave had to say.
It was great.
Missed that. I am so sorry. I thought I was plugged in, but I guess I wasn't. But I appreciate his comments, even though I haven't heard them yet. But I'm sure he did a great job, as he always does.
Yep.
So, and I just hope that this council carries on the tradition of other councils in recognizing the volunteers and how much the borough saves by having a very active volunteer fire department.
Absolutely. Thank you, Stanley.
Okay, thank you.
See you in 2 weeks, Stanley.
Yep. See you then.
Yes, look forward to it.
That's a great question. I think that-
I have a motion to, anyone else have anything to say before anyone else online? No.
No.
I have a motion to close the public comment.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to approve the minutes and reports from 8/10/2023?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, bunch of ordinances here. First up, hearing and adoption for NP 2023-03, amending and supplementing Section 680-60, Schedule 26, restricted parking for handicapped persons. Can I have a motion to open the floor for public hearing on this ordinance only?
So moved.
I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi, Barbara Boas, 35 Branch Avenue, and I have a bench too. I want to talk about the parking, and I think it's a wonderful idea, and I'm glad we finally got around to doing it. But I wanted to know if we knew anyone ever saw how Ocean Grove does it. The parking spaces that are in front of houses are a different color, and it says for residents only on it. It has and the person who has that has a yellow sticker that they put on their thing so that the police know that theirs is the right car to be in that spot. So it is delineated specifically for the person living in the home. Is that something
So-
we're thinking of?
So not exactly that, but pretty close. So our traffic unit came up with a similar plan to now there's going to be basically a rocker sign underneath the handicap parking sign that states a specific permit number. So if your permit number is NJ 221, it'll say parking only for NJ 221.
Yeah, okay.
Whatever.
As long as that, because if we're going to all this trouble to put a space in front of someone's home, they should have that space all the time.
Right.
Thank you, because I may need it soon.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I have a comment on that.
Yeah.
Okay. The only thing I'm thinking about with the permit that would match their handicap permit is that these permits expire periodically. So the intention is that as the permits expire, they would be updated. Yeah.
Right. Although I issue them, I don't actually file them, but I think we renew the same permit number typically. So they just add an
Okay.
extension on the existing number.
Okay.
But I'll double check that. If not, we would update the sign.
All right, great. Thank you.
Anyone else? I have a motion to close the public hearing on this ordinance only.
I'll make that motion.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I have a motion to adopt the ordinance.
Yes, so moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
It's a roll call. all right? Yeah.
Councilmember Bonatakis,
Yes.
Councilmember Cassidy,
Yes.
Councilmember Facy Blackwood,
Yes.
Councilmember Forrest,
Yes.
Councilmember Janone,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
and Mayor Portman.
Yes,
Motion passes, sir.
thank you. Next up is hearing and adoption on NP 2023-04, amending and supplementing Chapter 680 Vehicles and Traffic, Section 680-38, Schedule 4, Time Limit Parking. Can I have a motion to open the floor for public hearing on this ordinance only?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right. Anyone have any comment on this ordinance? No? All right, can I have a motion to close the public hearing on this ordinance only?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to adopt ordinance NP 2023-03?
Make the motion.
Have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Bonatakis,
Yes.
Councilmember Cassidy,
Yes.
Councilmember Facy Blackwood,
Yes.
Councilmember Forrest,
Yes.
Councilmember Janone,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
and Mayor Portman.
Yes.
Passes, sir.
Thank you. Next up for hearing and adoption, NP 2023-05, bond ordinance authorizing the leasing of certain capital equipment by the Borough of Red Bank, New Jersey, from the Monmouth County Improvement Authority, and the execution of a lease and agreement relating thereto. Can I have a motion to open the floor for public hearing on this ordinance only?
I'll make such a motion.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any comment from the public? So I have a motion to close the public hearing on this ordinance only.
I'll make such a motion.
I have a second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I have a motion to adopt ordinance NP 2023-05.
So moved.
I have a second.
Second?
Roll call.
Councilmember Bonatakis,
Yes.
Councilmember Cassidy,
Yes.
Councilmember Facy Blackwood,
Yes.
Councilmember Forrest,
Yes.
Councilmember Janone,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Mayor Portman.
Yes,
Motion passes, sir.
thank you. Hearing and adoption for NP 2023-06, amending chapter 300-3, construction codes, uniform fees. Can I have a motion to open the floor for public hearing on this ordinance only?
So moved.
I have a second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Public? I have a motion to close the public hearing on this ordinance only.
So moved.
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to adopt ordinance NP 2023-06?
So moved.
I have a second.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Bonatakis,
Yes.
Councilmember Cassidy,
Yes.
Councilmember Facy Blackwood,
Yes.
Councilmember Forrest,
Yes.
Councilmember Janone,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Mayor Portman.
Yes,
Motion passes, sir.
thank you. Next up, the hearing and adoption for NP 2023-07, amending chapter 490-104F sidewalk signs. Can I have a motion to open the floor for public hearing on this ordinance only?
I'll make such a motion.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Cindy Burnham, 71 Wallace. I guess you're talking about sandwich signs on the sidewalks?
Yes.
And what exactly are we doing with those? Or what is your plan?
The ordinance doesn't change except for extending the date because it had a sunset on it that already passed. So
Oh,
we're not changing the ordinance at all. It's just extending it.
are we going to enforce along the yellow line and the no yellow line?
Yeah, I didn't understand what you meant at the last meeting about that, but yeah, whatever the ordinance calls for is what, it's just it's to standardize it. So we have teeth to enforce it. Right now, there's no ordinance in place at all.
And there should be at least 5 feet between the sign and the building.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Can I have a motion to close the public hearing on this ordinance only?
I'll make such a motion.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Motion, can I have a motion to adopt ordinance NP 2023-07?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Bonatakis,
Yes.
Councilmember Cassidy,
Yes.
Councilmember Facy Blackwood,
Yes.
Councilmember Forrest,
Yes.
Councilmember Janone,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Mayor Portman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next up are a couple bond ordinances, and there are copies on the table here if you want to see these ordinances. Introduction of NP 2023-08 bond ordinance for Mechanic Street and various road improvements from the NJDOT. We don't do a public hearing system in a second. All right, can I have a motion to approve the ordinance on introduction?
So moved.
I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay, the hearing on this will be on August 24th.
Councilmember Bonatakis,
Yes.
Councilmember Cassidy,
Yes.
Councilmember Facy Blackwood,
Yes.
Councilmember Forrest,
Yes.
Councilmember Janone,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Mayor Portman.
Yes.
Motion passes, sir.
Thank you. Next up is NP 2020, introduction of NP 2023-09, bond ordinance for water sewer improvements, lead service lines. Can I have a motion to approve the ordinance on introduction?
I'll make that motion.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Bonatakis,
Yes.
Councilmember Cassidy,
Yes.
Councilmember Facy Blackwood,
Yes.
Councilmember Forrest,
Yes.
Councilmember Janone,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Mayor Portman.
Yes.
Motion passes, sir.
Thank you. Hearing for this will also be August 24th. Anyone have any questions before we vote on the resolutions? Everyone clear with everything? No? Okay.
Second.
45 and 40, did 46, 47.
You have to pull 46 and 47.
What's that?
I already did 47.
All right, we did 46 and 47. All right, so can I have a motion to,
We want to note, sir, resolution 48 was amended because when we drafted the resolution, the wrong number was picked up from the proposal. But that is also up there for public if they need to see it.
okay, just to repeat what Laura said to me, 48 is amended. There was a typo, I think, or the wrong number was,
Number was picked up.
wrong number was picked up. So that is also on the table, if anyone wants to take a look at it. Can I have a motion to approve resolutions NP 23-38 through NP 23-51? We are exempting 46 and 47 as we already did them.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second?
Can I raise a point of order?
No?
Does that mean there's no discussion, folks?
No discussion.
But I just want to finish and then we can just,
Motion.
what's that?
I made a motion.
Right, I think, do we have a second?
Is that a roll call or all in favor?
Roll call.
Oh no, you generally have public comments on resolution.
Well, we had a public comment on all agenda items, right? And then we have another public comment at the end. So I think that's the appropriate time, right?
Yeah.
Procedurally,
So I made a motion. Did somebody make a second?
we have a second, so
Roll call.
Councilmember Bonatakis?
Yes.
Councilmember Cassidy?
Yes.
Councilmember Facy Blackwood?
Yes.
Councilmember Forrest?
Yes.
Councilmember Janone?
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo?
Yes.
Mayor Portman.
yes. All right, next up is some discussion and action items. We talked about the graffiti ordinance last time. Greg, you want to give us an update on that?
Yes, so I incorporated incorporated all your comments from the last meeting and my presentation into a drafted ordinance, which sent to all you guys. This is one opportunity to, well, I'll go through a little bit of it. You can see I changed the definition and moved the act of graffiti to defacement of property to encompass the broader spectrum of problems that Red Bank is experiencing with stickers and things like that. Left out all of the community service, thanks to Councilman Cassidy's comment for families. Fundamentally made an act of graffiti subject to, without the express knowledge or consent of the owner of the property. There's also, you see, it goes on there in the definition, or which contributes to the ugliness and sightliness of its object, space, area, or community. That really refers to if an owner is the one graffitiing or has a sticker poster board or something that's in violation. It probably likely would, in order to enforce that portion, would have to violate some other portion of the zoning code. So for example, you get around the sign ordinance by graffitiing your own building, if we just left that as the consent of the owner. And so that's what that is meant to encompass, and it's not meant to encompass, you know, artistic expression on storefront windows or things like that. It's meant for the post, you know, someone can't run their own posting a bill sign on the middle of Broad Street. In order to trigger that, you really probably need another zoning violation. And so you can see, I just moved around to make it more clear about what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. Also included in the fund, the graffiti trust account, that the commissioning, as Councilwoman, as Deputy Mayor Triviano brought up last time, you know, the commissioning of public murals and art is one of the identified social ways of lessening the effect of graffiti. So now the graffiti trust account for any violators can also be used to commission public murals and art to quote, discourage future graffiti. And so those are the main changes. There's no vote on this tonight. This was just to explain to you how I took your comments and put them into a written form. If you guys have any comments or questions, of course, I'm happy to do that. If you have any comments and questions between now and the next meeting, when we might bring it up for introduction, please feel free to reach out to me anytime. We can work on that.
I do have one question and comment. Subsection C says that the property owner has 24 hours to remove it upon application. First off, that seems like a very short time period. Could it be 24 hours at least upon notice, or maybe even 48 hours upon notice of it? Because some folks are landlords, they may not actually have had notice that their property was defaced. I'm looking for that nuance where at least someone is made aware and given a reasonable opportunity to correct it. 24 hours seems from application seems a little bit strong to me.
That makes a lot of sense.
Does that make sense?
Yes, I'm asking.
Okay. I guess we can workshop.
Frankly, we could just remove C. I mean, the act of graffiti is act of graffiti. It's really like one of those double charges.
I do like the idea that people are, when they're noticed, that they have a time period to fix the problem, right? Then it's defined. I do like the idea of what you're trying to go for there. I just think that it's a little bit too strict in that it's just from application, not even upon notice, and then it's only 24 hours. So I mean, I would even say, you know, I had my way, maybe 72 hours upon notice or 2 weeks upon application, whichever is the shorter of the two, or something along those lines. You know, that way people can't ignore their properties, first of all. And then secondarily, at least if they're noticed, they have a reasonable time to fix it.
Is this specifically though for property owners that are putting up their own?
No.
So this is for the person who applied the graffiti, whether they're the property owner or not. So I think 72 hours upon notice, you receive the summons, and then you can, you know. Well, so there's a so graffiti on private property, to hold the property owner liable, even if whether they applied the graffiti or not, there's a state statute that governs that. That's section 6. So it's 90 days notice for property owners. They can file for a hearing. Property owners who aren't the offender have a lot more leeway. 24 hours is basically unreasonable for mostly anything nowadays. I think is your overall point. And so 72 hours of notice or 2 weeks of application it still puts the remediation burden on the offender. But yeah, 24 hours isn't reasonable. It's like you're setting someone up for failure.
I just want people to be treated fairly. And I think that's fair.
And if that only applies if you know the person who applied the graffiti. Right?
Right, and correct.
Which is a very small percentage of the time.
Correct. That's why I think that it doesn't materially affect the overall influence of the
It's more human.
ordinance to be human.
Yes.
Exactly.
Human.
Anyone else have any thoughts on the graffiti draft ordinance? No? All right, let's
I thought the rest of it was solid. I mean, I was satisfied. I was satisfied with the changes. I feel like the comments were brought in. I agree.
okay. Next one up for discussion is the Shade Tree Committee Tree Fund.
So I drafted this ordinance, but substantively, this was Councilwoman Blackwood's idea, so I would defer to her to speak to the substance of it.
Sure. The purpose, this ordinance was requested by the Shade Tree Committee. And they wanted to do basically two things. One is to increase the cost that is paid into the Shade Tree Trust Fund when a developer chooses not to plant a tree. And, you know, that does come up from pretty often. Presently, the cost that the developer would pay per shade tree is $500. And the Shade Tree Committee recommended $750. So we did add that into this ordinance. And the other item, it's relatively small, but it speaks to the Shade Tree Trust Fund. And what they wanted to do, as the ordinance currently reads, they could only use the Shade Tree Trust Fund only for new trees. And what they wanted to do is to allow to use the trust fund if they have to do some maintenance that is outside the normal maintenance done by DPW, like maybe purchase a gator bag for a tree that is existing but needs a little help. So they wanted to have that flexibility. I don't think it's something, you know, that would be, you know, happen too often, but it is there. Any comment about it? Okay, there is one more thing that was in the draft ordinance or that was put together. Greg and I spoke because there was some wording that implied that the Shade Tree Committee would then be responsible for the maintenance of all the trees in the borough, and that's really not the case. So he and I spoke, and we're going to take off most of the last sentence, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, so, because I'm a lawyer and I do in 10 words what normal people do in 2. I restated really what their power was. So long story short, on 665, which is page 3 of 4 of the ordinance, the entire section would just stop at the Red Bank Shade Tree Committee shall administer the Shade Tree Trust Fund, period.
Right, and that's what they do
And it
today.
kind of confused the purpose, so
Yeah.
thank you for pointing it out.
No problem, and they do that today.
All right, so I guess,
Go ahead, Kristen.
No, I would just add, I would personally be amenable to a higher cost. I don't know, if there's appetite among the group, but I think, I was just saying I would be amenable to an even greater increase on the cost. I think we really do personally, I really do hope that in these cases, the trees are planted, and I would hope that the difference between the cost of the tree and the fine is significant enough to encourage the planting. But I welcome the thoughts of the council.
in general, what is the cost? Do we know?
$500.
That's what it actually costs them to,
Oh, I don't.
No, I'm just
give me the
curious.
Cost to the developer of the tree.
yeah, the developer
Oh,
has
that I
to
don't
do
know.
like,
Look,
Good enough.
to buy a decent tree to plant is gonna cost you more than $500, like for a developer. I mean, we are pretty low. There's nothing really all that punitive about this, and the goal is to maintain the nature and the landscape of Red Bank. So if we want people to put trees in, we got to make it more attractive to keep the trees or plant their own than to force us into a trust that we have to then find space to put these into. So it is a very practical thing. And having been on planning, most developers will take the penalty. That's the reality. It was $500. Most will take the penalty. And I don't think $750 is actually going to make anyone suddenly go, you know what, we better start planting trees. So if our goal is to get more people to plant trees, as opposed to taking the penalty, it has to go up. If that's what our goal is. I don't want to speak to what the goal of
No.
Ms. Blackwood was, but
Oh, that was
that's the
the
reality.
committee.
Yeah.
I'm okay
Well-
going up.
I guess then the question is, instead of just picking arbitrary numbers, should we just at least do a little Googling and see what it would cost? For planting a tree and then set our number accordingly.
I think that's reasonable.
Yeah. That's a great idea.
Okay. I assign that to you, Craig.
Do you want to check with the Shade Tree Committee as to what they think? When you account for the cost of them taking it's one thing to buy the tree and plant it, it's another to take care of it for the first couple of years to keep it survive. I know that they literally administer the fund, so they know what it costs.
Right.
Maybe, I'd rather than me Googling, picking a number out of the air, could we ask have them give us a real approximated cost that we could justify to put in there?
I can go back to the Shade Tree Committee and ask them to do that. Yeah.
If we do that in the next 2 weeks, we'll make that amendment as well, and then we will bring it back for introduction here.
I just wanted to add on, like, there are fees that can be looked into and seen, of other places and what they do. In Los Angeles, larger developers are obligated to pay over $2,000. So just to understand the scope of where we could be going with this, but pretty big fee. Yeah, but in relevance to what? Yeah. I'm all for it. I want more trees. I would much rather people not pick the fee and plant the tree. So
I would agree.
Yeah, I think we all want
That
that.
being said, it can't be punitive, right? Because it's technically an off track the contribution. So we don't want, it has to reasonably approximate what it costs the borough.
That's right. My choice of language was a little bit, out there, but the point is that people are like, well, it's cheaper for me to take
Right.
$500 than to put the tree in and then maintain it, because then what we do at the planning was they were then memorialized to care for that tree by watering it for 3 years, the developer, and then you kind of factor in all the costs. Next thing you know, I'll take the $500. And that's not helping the borough. That's not serving the goals.
Right. Okay, cool.
All right, we'll work on that.
All right, anyone else have any comments on discussion items? Okay, then we'll go around the horn. Christina, you got any comments?
No report this evening, except to thank the additional residents who have been visiting our open office hours. I work regular business hours, so I tend to be at the library on the evening, Wednesday evenings, 5:45 to 7:45. And I just want to thank everyone who's come. We've had some great conversations.
I've got a few things. First, earlier today, I had the privilege of bringing Ladder 9-1 over to Little Silver to serve flag detail for Tommy Bruno, former police chief, former fire chief of Little Silver, and family member of folks that have the Bruno family who have significant ties to Red Bank. On behalf of the borough, just express our condolences to the police, the fire, the Bruno family, and the greater Little Silver community. That was a privilege to get to be a part of it, and the police department and fire department there did a wonderful job of honoring his legacy. National Night Out, many of us attended. I just want to compliment the PBA and the police department. Probably the best year, maybe it was because of the weather, but it was a fantastic event. Oscar did a nice job on Parks and Rec and bringing in that. And then the library was there. Was all sorts of community organizations, and there was just so much fun. I don't know what else to say. What a great night that one was. We passed resolution 2351 and it kind of went by. So I just want to make an acknowledgement. That was actually appointing our crossing guards here in Red Bank.
Right.
And I know several of them, and they do a great job, and they just care so much for our citizens and our children in particular. And I just want to acknowledge it's not a high paying gig, but they are going out there mornings, afternoons, making sure that our kids get across the street safely. And I didn't want that to pass by without acknowledging the incredible service our borough crossing guards do for our community. Finally, the Housing Authority had a meeting. They're formulating a response to what took place over at Montgomery Terrace a few weeks ago. There's going to be a community forum to be announced by the Housing Authority, and there will also be a outdoor community event. And I would like the Housing Authority chair to actually express what those plans are specifically, but I'd like the community to know that they are meeting, they are formulating their response for their community and the greater Red Bank community to discuss and to address what took place at Montgomery Terrace and how we can move forward as a community collectively.
Thank you.
Yes.
Sure.
I want to thank people who are still coming to our council hours, and I want to thank Laura for making those beautiful signs and
Making it more
visible.
Some of the issues that have come up over the past 2
2
weeks,
weeks was
the status of the,
bicycle rack installation for the senior center.
do you have a timeline for that?
So it's on my list, but we have a donation from a local property owner who owns several large pieces of property in Red Bank who has a bike rack to spare. That's a very good one. So they're going to donate it. It's just a matter of getting the logistics to get it transported over there and installed.
Okay.
So
Oh, that's,
hopefully within the week or two.
okay, that's great. Just also to add that the EC had their first meeting since we have reorged, so we have a new chair, vice chair, and secretary. And they also support bike racks throughout town, build it and they will come. There are residents who are concerned about the speeding that happens through town and the enforcement, which I know, it's sometimes hard to do, but that's a known issue, just letting you know. And the Shade Tree would like to thank the DPW for watering the newly planted trees. They had a smaller water container that can fit in a truck as opposed to the big truck, which allows them to go down the narrower streets. The EC also met and they have a project amongst many with a neighbor created a garden at the end of West Side Avenue. And she would like to have that converted to a pollinator garden. It happens to be borough property, and so the EC did get permission. And one of our newest Green Team members, Luisa Sala, will be overseeing teen volunteers on that project to start the garden and take care of it. So, and that's basically all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Ben, you got anything?
Sure. Okay, first, as liaison to the schools, I did try to go to the public schools board meeting 2 weeks ago, but I found like ironically with the recreation committee meeting, so I'll have to do that at a future day. I did meet with president of the charter school, Donna McCord, and the superintendent of the charter school. And it was a very good meeting at the charter school, and it was interesting, frank discussion. And they invited us to their, beginning of fall season picnic on the 30th. I don't know if you have an email, but she said they'd send an email to that effect. I'll forward what I have to you. So that was good. And I haven't yet set up a meeting with Red Bank Regional, but it's on my plan, as well as the Catholic school.
I hear that. What was that last thing?
Also planning to set up a meeting with Red Bank Regional as well as the Red Bank Catholic. Parks and Recreation is amazingly busy as usual. If you haven't been to the jazz concerts, big turnouts, very well run, really incredible events, actually. One of the things that makes Red Bank great, I think, is we get all this. Oscar has provided me with a couple of things. We have end of summer camp, the camp that's starting on August 21st to 24th. It's going to be focused on sports. Reach out to the recreation department if you have anyone who wants to join. We're also closing the traditional camps this week, this Friday, tomorrow, and next Friday for the older kids. I'm actually going to try to go to the one next Friday. There's going to be a little celebration, I think, over at Camp Basie Park. We've had 35 submissions to the Halloween Festival Town Naming Contest. The winner will be chosen, I guess, the next Park and Recreation meeting in August. That's actually quite a few. The second annual Hispanic Heritage Celebration is scheduled for September 23rd at Riverside Gardens Park. More details will be coming soon. And fall recreation soccer season starts September 16th. We have already 200 kids signed up. So Parks and Rec is rocking. Any questions or comments? And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank
you.
I'm sure we do. Reach out to the, send an email over to Parks and Rec, or I think you'd be a great coach.
Like soccer.
Lauren, have anything to add?
Yeah, I do.
I do.
So we had a meeting of the animal welfare on August 1st, and Dog Days is September 9th. We have some signs around town that we're gonna be putting a big banner across Broad Street, and the middle school will have an electronic sign, and so we'll one of the parks on the west side and one police sign that he's gotten for us too. So we'll have people announcing, and we're still taking sponsorships for that also. So that the date is September 9th, 12 to 4, and the rain date is September 10th. We also on Monday went back to the charitable pharmacy again with Congressman Pallone was there, and it was really very interesting about all the bills that are going to be coming up about caps on pharmaceuticals within the next couple of years, and they'll be enacted in 2025. So it was a great learning experience. It was also Public Health Week this week. So today at the VNA at Central Jersey, they had big thing outside with lots of different vendors and different. You could actually walk through a big balloon that was like the inside of a colon, and it had all different polyps and stuff. It was pretty interesting. So we were over there, and speaking of the VNA, so I want to publicly thank them. I met with Chris Wren this week also, and they're getting defibrillators for the library so that he has reached out to people that order his supplies, and that will be happening soon. So I want to publicly thank him for that. That came out of the library liaison meeting that I was at, which we have another one next week, right? So let's see. I think that's it for me. Thanks.
Thank you. Kate?
Otto went and visited
The police academy with his summer camp in Red Bank, and he came home and he said,
we need a defibrillator for the house. And I said, well, that's a little expensive to have at the house, but he'll be so happy to hear that there's one at the library.
There'll be two, I hope, one on each floor.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
So I am the new liaison to the Community Engagement Equity Committee. They held their first meeting this week. The chair is Pat Pinto. The vice chair is Jane Myers. So congratulations to them on their appointments. Brief report, the CEEC collaborated with Parks and Rec for a state grant in the amount of $3,000. The grant application has been submitted. The grant would provide 2 push wheelchairs to be used in the Red Bank Classic in coming years. And the CEC would like to thank Oscar Salinas from Parks and Rec for taking the lead at time of application and getting that in before the deadline. I also have a short report from River Center. The sidewalk sale, annual sidewalk sale, get ready, will be August 18th, 19th, and 20th, and it's free parking in the borough all weekend. And I just wanted to congratulate, we actually had a fair amount of our restaurants make the New Jersey Monthly Magazine's 40th annual Jersey Choice Restaurant Poll. So congratulations to Teak, Surf Taco, Beer Vino, Rook, Toast, and Good Karma Cafe for making the list. Thanks.
All right.
Can I add one more thing, Mayor?
Sure.
River Center is also sponsoring Easy Ride, the organization that helps to work with the Borough for Safe Routes to School.
And on the 18th in the morning at 8:30, they're going to have
An event where young children who
want to learn how to ride a bike or want to
perfect their cycling
skills can come down, and it's going to be in Broadwalk.
All right. You guys said it all. I got nothing.
actually, Mayor,
Oh,
realized we missed something,
oh,
an important event. Actually, this Saturday,
Oh, yes.
August 12th.
Oh.
We don't want to forget because I am really excited. The community block party that takes place on Dr. James Parker
Yep.
is noon to 7 this very Saturday, food galore outside of the Celestial Lodge.
good call. Okay, I have a motion to open the floor for public question and comment.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Hi.
All right.
Then Story 25 Cedar Street. I am speaking for myself. I'm not speaking on this behalf of the school board or the library board that I am a part of. So basically, I'm calling BS. We talked about the way the committees were formed last week, and a resident came up and was upset on the process. And it was, I'm quoting here from Red Bank Green on July 10th. There's a call for applications to begin early this month. It absolutely works. The mayor was quoted, Red Bank Green Coasting. Now, the idea was to have a process, and I commend you guys for using the application process. However, after digging into the numbers and looking at who was appointed and who applied, it seems to be about just slightly around 50% of the people that were appointed actually applied. And at the last meeting, someone questioned the process. And it was noted that you guys discussed it, which is great. You guys, that's the way you wanted to handle it. But just from getting feedback from other people in town, I think they were looking at for more details. Like, for example, do you need to be a resident? And then somebody put on a comment on Facebook, you have to be a resident. Looking at the application, there was a person who is not a resident. Is there a certain amount of years you have to live in town to be appointed? 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? Is there an age requirement? Did you guys look at past attendance at other meetings? I know some people had lackluster attendance either on other committees. You know, it's disheartening when we say we want to be transparent and we really didn't get into the nuts and bolts on how. Now, you guys have the right to make any decisions you want, but I questioned some of it. On June 20th, Councilman Forrest mentioned how it was important to have a public school representative on the planning board. And Dr. Stone has been an alternate on the planning board for a few years. Yet he still is not qualified to be a full member. He is an alternate currently. So looking at information I received from the clerk, a grid of who applied and actually also seeing redacted applications. I noticed there's about 72 people applied. So I just kind of want to make sure that we're doing it in good faith. One of the person made a comment on one of the blogs saying that we should trust you. I think we should trust and verify. I think you just don't get our trust, you earn our trust. And I think it's important that we're really transparent and not just say the word transparent. Now, I agree with Tri-City News saying that, you know, it's not always good to have one group running, one power running the town. The problem is there is no checks and balance. So I took the initiative and I did a little digging. I put pencil to paper. And for example, you appointed about 5 people, either a full member or alternate, that did not apply. So how would you have that discussion unless you already kind of knew what you wanted to do? So was the application more like an optics and not really fun? Another example is in the animal committee when we were planning dog days, and I'm one of the founding members, we were told 2 things. 1, there wasn't going to be much change, and 2, somebody noted that we're going to only give one committee to one person, which is kind of good, right? Because you're giving one committee to one person, it gives more opportunity for other people to get engaged. There are 2 people on 2 committees, and you know, there was a lot of change in the animal welfare committee. I mean, I'm not being a jerk. I'm still helping out. There was stuff in my garage and I still got a $400 sponsor for the event. And I'm still sponsoring some stuff for it because I do every year. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention that if you're going to seek transparency and you have a process, that we're hoping that you follow the process and enforce the process. It's just disheartening that almost 50% of the people who you appointed did not apply per the data I received from the clerk from an OBRAC, which was the applications and also a grid listing where everybody requested to be or how many committees they're requested to be on. Oh, and by the way, if you're going to be big on the environment, can we start by turning off the lights outside during the day? And even today, when I came in at 6 o'clock, there are 4 lights outside. I'm all for safety when it's dark out, but like, you're serious about the environment, but let's, you know, flip the switch during the day, save some energy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can I go to the restroom quick?
Sure.
Thanks.
Anyone else have any comments? Yes.
Cindy Burnham, 71 Wallace Street. The Boy Scout that is doing his project, is he a Red Bank? Is that a Red Bank troop? Do you know?
No.
I've never heard of this.
So he's based in River Plaza, which is technically Middletown. He's just over the bridge from us.
Oh, so it's not one of our Red Bank.
It's not. I know all our Red Bank and Girl Scouts. My son is, yeah, you know him, but yeah, very quality young man though, and he has a really nice proposal and I think you'll.
Well, that's what I wanted to say. Before he starts, I would like to be part of this because I have really been kind of like the mother of Maple Cove. And whenever anybody wants to do a project, I'm not allowed to do it, but I can get those Boy Scouts and they'll do it. And then the town lets them do it. But I think the placement of the kayak rack needs to be in a certain location. So kind of near.
I think that's for, to reach out to Oscar on that question, because Oscar's got to help oversee it. Oscar actually gave his endorsement of it. That's my recommendation. I defer to the mayor as to whether that's accurate, or to the BA rather.
I'll call Oscar.
Yeah.
Because he told me about it anyway. Okay, also bike rack, Nancy, you know that Alan Hill brought his bike rack over, right?
Yes, he did mention he did bring a
Bike rack over to the senior center.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that you knew that. Now, Ben just said he's the liaison to the schools. And Laura said she's the liaison to the library. I thought we didn't have liaisons. What's the story?
I have no problem.
I think what we don't have is we don't have liaisons to the departments. We don't have a liaison to, for example, the DPW.
Oh, DPW, police, senior center, apartments.
Through liaisons to volunteer committees.
Why are there some, why education and why the library and not liaison to the senior center or, you know?
Center is a department, not a committee. The senior center is a borough department, just like the police department or
Oh.
rec department.
Okay. All right, and do we still have free parking on Sundays?
Yes.
Okay, well, in our old meters, people were always feeding the meters on Sunday. And it's very easy to have them programmed and say free on Sunday. And I'm wondering if they can do that with ours, with the pay stations.
I thought they did that.
Because people are still paying.
But I thought they did, but I'll check with Bill Wilkins, see if it's not programmed that way. You're right, it is, I think, pretty easy to do.
It's very easy to,
But I thought they were.
okay, so that's gonna be a,
Read them, but I think they are. They do say it.
okay, that's gonna be a standard then, free parking on Sundays?
I think it's been free for as long as I can remember. Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure, then, yeah, I would really like it if you'd look into changing those pay stations so that they say free parking on Sunday. And I guess that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone online there?
Yes.
One second, we're just going online and then.
Nicole takes you up.
Good evening, everyone. In the beginning of this session, you all in the room there were on mute, so I don't know if I missed it. And I'm not sure if I'm mistaken on this, but I thought we were going to get an update on the city manager search and process, or whatever you guys could give us in terms of a status update. I understand the confidentiality around personnel issues, but great.
I can tell you real quick, and there's a resolution authorizing the posting of a borough manager position.
Okay.
So we opted initially that we're going to be advertising in, I mean, you probably have a list of where we're going to be advertising yet. I know we're going to be advertising with the League of Municipalities. There's a manager.
The International City Managers Association and the other professional organizations that Laura and I, or Greg, can look at.
Right. So we're gonna begin that search ourselves rather than hire an agency.
Okay. And why did you decide to do it yourselves instead of hiring like a headhunter or someone like that? Is it just cost or?
I mean, cost was a factor too. I don't think it didn't seem to go very well the last time that happened. I think we hired someone and then I don't know if the candidates withdrew. I know the headhunter wasn't happy. It was a little muddy. So it seems like a cleaner, more cost-effective way to attempt to go about it this time.
Okay, and I guess so the post is gonna go up when, and do you guys have any idea as to like how long you think this could take to hire somebody, and kind of what is the process? Is there like an interview committee? Is it just the council, or is there anything else you could share in terms of, you know, timeline, expectations, and just process, how it goes?
I have no idea how long it will take to get qualified candidates. I know it's a tight market out there. I know Montclair, for example, their temporary BA had just passed, but they were on like 5 temporary
5 months.
BAs in 5 months. Yeah, so I don't have an answer on the timeline. I mean, as soon as possible would be great if we got a great candidate tomorrow.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, I
be
mean,
great.
yeah, the job market is tight. I mean, I certainly understand that. I mean, I've had to hire people as well, and everyone has, like, lately, you know, it's a struggle. So if there's any way to reconsider a search firm or someone, I don't know what it is in municipalities, but I mean, most important positions, I think, you know, like warrant that. And I think this is really important. One of the reasons I'm so focused on it, I've spoken with many of you about this, but the speeding on Hudson Avenue is just completely unacceptable at this point, now that I've been spending more time at home and witnessing it, especially during morning rush hour and evening rush hour. It's not uncommon to see cars going 40 miles an hour down this street. And, you know, I've spoken to a number of my neighbors on the issue. I have not heard one person not acknowledge the problem and express concern for themselves and their families. And it's not only on Hudson, it is throughout the town. Almost any other parent or pedestrian I speak to has a story about a close call they had, has a story about speeding on their street, people not obeying crosswalks. And it's a very widely known problem. I understand, you know, we would all love more enforcement. Seems the police department is a little short-staffed to really bulk up on enforcement, but I don't see any reason why we can't start really focusing on more crosswalks, blinking speeding signs. I mean, if you look at Patterson Avenue in Shrewsbury, I want my street to look like that. If I have to write a grant myself or figure out how to do it, I'm here to help. If we want to form a task force, have a public forum, or whatever it is, I'm happy to like help you guys. But it's, I mean, someone was hit the other day on, I think, Broad and Harding, and I have complained about that crosswalk so many times. So we know it's a problem. We got to fix it before something terrible happens. I don't think any of us wants that, but it's only a matter of time. So, you know, I'd love to have a city manager with some experience in traffic management and finding ways to solutions. But if this isn't going to be a quick search, like, we got to start doing things now. And I hope you guys can take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Can you just state your address again?
Oh, sorry, 153 Hudson Avenue.
Okay, thank you.
Alan Hill, 64 McLaren Street. Just going to refer back to what happened earlier in this meeting, and that was with taking no debate or no questions from the public about resolutions. I do know that when it suits you, you do take resolutions seriatim and let members of the public ask questions or make comments. Today you chose not to. And you chose not to on a resolution that went from some idea out the top of somebody's head to being policy in this town, unanimously, I have to say, by you. When there was a need for a much greater debate on this, one solution's been put here, and no opportunity has been given to actually looking if there is any alternative way of using this money. It says you looked at various departments or various police departments elsewhere. Well, I'm sure you did, but I have as well. And you know, there are different, I looked at different townships as well throughout the country, and there are different ways of spending this money. And, you know, there's a secondary debate as well. And that is whether the police department is the best way of delivering social services in this town. And I know that there is a big debate about that sort of thing. And given, shall we say, the confidence we can have in the police department at the moment, you know, illustrated in this meeting tonight, it certainly is up for debate. And I think people are going to judge you. Somebody else has raised the notion of transparency. Well, today, this evening, and on this particular instance, we've seen your version of transparency yet again. And I just want to make that point. And just lastly, this particular resolution was not available online, at least up to an hour before this meeting. And yet, when we came in, there is a resolution here. That means it was before probably half a dozen people in this town who know what is on that resolution. And you think that's good? I don't know. I certainly don't, and a lot of people will not think that's a way to carry on either. Thank you.
Just to be clear, while we were voting on the resolutions, you brought up a point about the resolution that had been amended. It wasn't the clinician one. The one you wanted to speak on was the one about awarding professional engineering services.
No.
You spoke earlier about the clinician one during the public comment.
That's right. And actually, in that time, I said I wanted to ask about the process and not about the content. At that point, you did not raise to me and say, Alan, later on in the meeting, there's going to be no discussion of the content. I deliberately withheld my views on the content of this resolution to be played later in the expectation that you might do what you do at other times and allow discussion, but you didn't. And I think it's worthwhile noting. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else have any comments? Yes.
Just one thing that was just said, I don't want to let pass by. I just want people to know, there's a disagreement in the police department right now, but I have the utmost confidence in the professionalism of our department. And personnel matters, while they're being hashed out right now, the professionalism of the officers top to bottom gets set aside for the betterment and for the service of this community. No, so I understand your point and what was said earlier. However, I just want to make a point that is tabled, and I've seen nothing but professionalism from everybody, inclusive of the fact that they wanted to come public to make something known. So I just wanted to make a point of that.
Very quick comeback. I would like to hear that statement during the debate on this particular resolution.
On which resolution?
MP 2050, where they have a commission.
We all support the resolution.
That was so.
Okay. Yeah.
Ethel Brandon, Bank Street, Red Bank. I have a thing about the traffic going down Bank Street that I've had my mirror hit twice and knocked off. I had to pay for it to be put back on. And it's just a tight street. There's gotta be something done with that because it's really too tight. You can't get one car down without getting the other car coming the other way. You have to find a spot to park and stuff like that. It's ridiculous. Also, can you park in front of a driveway if you're visiting somebody?
So technically, the law says you can't park in front of any driveway. The reality is we don't enforce that unless it's a public driveway where it's for a store or a commercial building or a firehouse where you're blocking multiple people. For residential, we typically respond when somebody calls and says somebody's blocking my driveway, because we don't really want to write a summons to the person who owns the driveway that's blocking their own driveway.
Okay, that's all I had to say.
All right, thank you.
I had Cindy Barnum, 71 Wallace. I had an incident, I think it was last weekend, coming home, and I had somebody parked in my apron of my driveway. And it took me about 5 times to get into it, but I did. And then I said to my neighbor, who's a guy, grown man, Said, do you think I should call the police on this? And he goes, yeah, the guy's parked in your apron. So I did. And he came and he saw and he says, no, I'm not going to give him a ticket. I said, so you're condoning this? And he goes, I'm not going to give him a ticket. And I mean, the mentality, since we have Broadwalk and we know there's parking problems on Wallace, if he had just given him a ticket, the next time that guy comes to park, he's going to think twice before he parks in somebody's apron. But if you don't give him a ticket, he's just going to continue to do that. Now, this is a shared driveway. And as I was in my backyard, my neighbor came home and I said, did you get in? She goes, yeah, it took me 5 times and the policeman out there just watched. And I said, well, let's go out and talk to him, but he had already left. But I mean, I really think you have to toughen up on these, the visitors when they're parking in somebody's apron and you just condone it because then they're just going to keep doing it and doing it and doing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Chris Havens, 111 Earth Street. On that particular item, I want to commend the police department because I actually was guilty of parking too close to a driveway on, I think, William Street, and I got a ticket. But the police department called me on my cell phone while I was walking around the area and said, sir, you're parked. And I was able to run back and move the car. I felt terrible. So I was very impressed with the police department. I think this department is amazing. We've had one call in 5 years. They were there in 5 seconds. It's a really great department. Part two, after all this talk, I think the social worker idea, the clinician idea is a terrific idea. Really glad you're doing something. It's forefront, it's modern, it's up to date. It's really leadership to spend that money that way. Let's see what happens. It's a great idea.
Thank you.
Mayor, can I just comment on that briefly?
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that. I'm really proud of the direction that we're moving in with this service in the police department. I was really happy. Actually, I received a call from another service provider in town this morning who saw the Red Bank Green article and commented that they were elated that this would be a service that would be added to our police department. I do not exist in a bubble. I do talk to people from the municipalities and other places who are trying to figure out how to use this opioid money, and they were pleased and proud of we found something that actually fits the bill of how this money should be used to actually address the issues that are caused by drugs and alcohol and mental health issues in a community. I'm really happy that Captain Frazee is also on board with this as a solution, the department and other department leadership. And I'm really proud to be on a council that when a good idea comes up, we run with it. And that is a change. We found a solution, we found an idea. It was put on the agenda by the mayor, the chief. I guess you guys worked on it. I did not work on that draft. It was placed on there, we reviewed it, and we voted to move it forward. That's progress. If we sat around here and we tried to figure out 50 different ideas of how to use money like that, as opposed to having the great use of it right in front of us with a deadline for using that money that our CFO actually has to submit, we wouldn't have progress. When something like this comes in front of you and you can move forward with it, it's a good thing. It's a good day in Red Bank. And I cannot wait until those services are felt in the community by people here who need those services. And you're right, not everything can be solved through law enforcement. That's what the social workers that are entering this new area of work realize. And that's why they're doing it, because it lowers our police officers' morale to go back to the same houses, sometimes seeing the next generation of that hurt and wishing that they had a social worker to actually go in there and address these issues. There are wonderful systems that have been created. Once again, Sayreville Police Department was mentioned earlier. The system that they've been doing seems to be working. They have real data to show already that it's been working. And it's going to help all the other service providers in town to have a stronger relationship with our police department to help people. This is the type of work that I got into office to do. These are the types of projects that make it worth it. So I'm really excited to see this program get off the ground. I think it's a fantastic use of the money. And we'll touch base after that, but this is the type of progress we want to see in town.
Anyone else have comments? I think everyone here has got one on the line. Go ahead. Jennifer Garcia, you have the floor.
Hello. Sorry about that. I'm a little bit sick. It's Jennifer Garcia, 30 Drummond Place. So I just wanted to make a comment, kind of piggybacking on what Sue Viscomi said. I'm also speaking as a resident of Red Bank, not as a member of the Board of Education. But what I really wanted to say was I listened to the meeting where Adrienne Bilal spoke about her dedication to Red Bank, and it really just touched a chord with me. And I felt like I had to, get more involved and learn a little bit more about the data around the committees and the appointments and that kind of thing. She really expressed, all like such great qualifications and a historical knowledge of Red Bank that she had. And I felt that, I felt I had to say something of, I hope that we really thank her a lot for her service and the other people that had long-term service to Red Bank. I know the applicant process after seeing the data. I know we really want to start off on the right foot and have transparency, and I'm 100% supportive of that. But knowing that some people that applied were appointed, people that did not apply were appointed to committees. And then also there has been one believed that doesn't even live in Red Bank. So it's just concerning that, that is getting passed through to this council. So I just wanted to make a point. I mean, let's start fresh. I felt I had to call in, especially after hearing, like I said, Adrienne last week. I know there's other longstanding volunteers that committed lots of time that were not reappointed for reasons, and that's fine. I just think they really deserve a thanks, and it goes a long way. Some of that historical knowledge will be missing for sure. And I just want to say that it's important that we thank these people, because those of us that are on boards and committees know how important volunteers are, and they're not so easy to get. Just take a look at our soccer program, right? We're begging for volunteers, right? For coaches. So I just, let's keep an eye on the people that are supporting and give them that big thanks. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Mayor, I'm not sure what just happened.
Barbara Monahan jumped up somehow on her own as panelist and then disappeared again. So Barbara, if you want to speak, just raise your hand and I'll put you back on. Okay, Barbara, now you have the floor. Sorry.
Okay. Hi, Barbara Monahan, 30 Pinckney Road. And I'd like to start off by saying it must have been me commenting in Red Bank chatter about how I trust you guys, which is the reason I voted for you. And I trust your judgment far more than my own to run the businesses. Now, to my understanding, appointments to committees are done by mayor and council everywhere, and the appointments are at their discretion. I think it's great of you guys to put out that interest, whatever it was, do you have interest and apply? But it wasn't necessary. And finally, that money for the social worker to be with the police department is a fabulous fine to spend it on. I don't know what you could be doing better to reach people in town. And finally, I don't know how you sit and hear the same people complain about what you do now. It's just no wonder people don't want to come to meetings. It's just a bunch of nitpicking, complaining, and God bless you for listening to it. That's all.
Thank you, Barbara. Yeah, just listen, we had more people apply for spots than there were spots available. And of course, people who weren't selected are unhappy. We hope it doesn't dissuade anybody from volunteering in the future. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. Any other comments? No.
Can I have a motion to close the public comment?
So moved.
Have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I have we don't need any executive session. We do for anticipated litigation. Okay, so then, okay, so then just to juggle it, I want to, do I motion to adjourn?
Do we reopen or do I?
We move to adjourn to executive session.
Okay,
For reasons stated on the.
thank you. Can I have a motion to adjourn to executive session for the reasons stated on the agenda?
I move, we move to executive session.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
I motion for a 5-minute bathroom
Yes, for
break.
the public's benefit, executive session will likely last 45 minutes and there will be no action taken after executive session.